Hey, everybody. Welcome back to your Business Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Conor Jones, and with me is the awesome Matt Thomson from M3 Insurance. He's a guy that I've been able to get to know over the past couple of years in a pretty cool way. We share the same faith, which is awesome, but then also we share the same kind of passion for businesses when it comes to their IT and cybersecurity. So should be a really fun episode. For anyone who hasn't tuned in before, there are really two things you can expect from this podcast. One would be on episodes just with me as myself. You'll get tech tips, you'll get trends, you'll get some fun stories about cybersecurity mishaps. And then when I have guests on, you get their insights and some of the knowledge that they have that they can pass on to you. So without further ado, Matt, you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Conor. Matt Thomson. I'm the Director of Cyber Liability at M3 Insurance. And really what that means is I get to help clients in not only placing cyber insurance for them, protecting their business in that way, but really, in that day, should a cyber incident happen, helping them through and being that warm handoff to the experts who likely need to be brought in and trying to be that calm in the midst of the storm. Prior to being at M3 and getting into the cyber insurance industry, I came from a technical cyber background. Got to in the military. Got to be an ethical hacker, red teamer, which was
that's so cool.
Pretty fun.
Yeah.
You kind of get an understanding of why it's a kind of a fun job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wouldn't do well in prison, so that's what's kept me. Amongst many other things, what's kept me on the good guy side. It was a lot of fun getting to legally hack into U.S. government systems.
That's so cool.
And then after getting out of the military, coming back to the Green Bay area, I worked for a couple companies here, building out their cyber program, implementing a lot of the controls that we may talk about that Loyalty does for all of your customers and clients. And really just getting involved in why IT and cyber is important to the business.
That's really cool. And thank you for mentioning that. I don't know how I didn't know that about you, that you actually hacked in as an ethical hacker. Yep. That's so cool. I tell people all the time, and I just made a LinkedIn post about it, where like, if I was one of the bad guys, it'd be so simple to just go and get money doing bad things. So thankfully you're on the good side, and same thing with me. But diving a little bit more into the actual cyber insurance side of things, what are some common misconceptions when it comes to cyber insurance as a whole? Yeah,
that's a great question that gets asked a lot. I think kind of two situations come most to mind. One is this belief that cyber insurance, they're going to find any reason to not pay. They're going to get you because you answered a question one way on the application and it was right or correct in 95% of the situations on your network, and that 5%, and if that's found to be the way the threat actors got in, it's not going to pay. I'd say that is statistically false. Yeah. Many of the carriers that we work with, pretty much all of them, they're paying out at 99+% of claims that are submitted to them. So, it is in the extreme minority, and it's like 99.4, 99.6% of claims are paid out. So it's in the extreme minority that a claim is not paid. So,
and those are the ones that make the news too, which make it so everyone thinks that that's the norm, but it's not.
Yes. And usually it's gross negligence, or it's not actually their claim to pay. Sometimes in those situations. So, that's probably one of the biggest. And then the second is, hey, I've got a great MSP like Loyalty, or I've got a great internal cyber team. They've got tool X, Y, or Z. Mm-hmm. I'm not at risk. Which to that I say, just because you installed an alarm system that automatically calls, the local police department or something at your house, do you not still carry like personal property coverage?
Yeah.
It's part of that holistic risk management program.
Yeah, that's awesome. When I mention your services to our clients or to prospects that I have, I always equate it to like driving a car.
Yep.
And like just because, or in your case, just because you have cyber insurance or car insurance doesn't mean that you can drive like a maniac and be an idiot and crash your car. So like, I don't have it happen as often as you probably do, where people are like, oh, well, I have cyber insurance, I don't need an MSP. It's not that often that happens, but I have had that happen a few times.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting, man. It's
the criminals, they still exist for a reason. They're still making money.
Yeah. Oh,
so
big time.
It's part of that, layered controls.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect segue. The controls that you're talking about. I know that from what I've seen with some cyber policies, certain controls are necessary, certain ones aren't, certain ones are talked about as being like 2 years down the road, it's going to be necessary. Can you give us a good snapshot of what controls matter that you see the most, and then which ones are coming in the future?
Yeah, that's also a great question, especially as businesses are trying to plan for that future. What do we need to be aware of? What do we need to start thinking about now? Because, taking a small history lesson, COVID happened early in the COVID days. Right before that, cyber insurance was really easy and cheap to come by. And then we got hit with a lot of ransomware, a lot of claims activity, and boom, within a year, everybody needed to have multi-factor authentication or else you couldn't get a policy. And really trying to advise clients on or organizations on how to be better prepared so that they don't have to say like, well, what else are we going to give up this year to do that? So all that is to say, one, multi-factor authentication specifically for any email access external to your network, any remote access. So if you're VPNing in, remote desktop apps, any solution like that you might be using. And they really like to see, not quite as important, but from an insurance standpoint, but seeing more and more questions about it is multi-factor for any sort of administrative level permissions or privileges.
That makes sense. It's funny you mentioned the MFA on a VPN or a remote desktop session. Yep. I just had a meeting with a company like 3 or 4 weeks ago where they said that they like, I don't want to say naked, but they have like a naked connection to their through their VPN. Like anyone can get on. And I'm like, and they say that they have cyber insurance. I'm like, you might want to look at your policy, because I'm not an expert, but I got to get Matt in here to like talk with you. So there might be someone coming your way.
Hey, I'll take them any day.
Yeah.
But frankly, when they looked back at the claims, they determined that somewhere on the order of 45 to 50% of claims could have been greatly reduced or prevented by having MFA in place. And as we all know, no tool or solution is the silver bullet. So today, threat actors are doing MFA bombing. They'll do, social engineering in the middle where they get you to approve an MFA prompt, and they're taking, not to get too technical, but the token, which then acts like, an established connection, and then they don't need your MFA anymore, at least for the near term. Yeah. But it is still found to be, kind of one of those top controls that if you don't have it, leads to a high likelihood of a claim or cyber incident.
And I'm assuming then, if you don't have it, depending on the verbiage in your policy, you might not get coverage at that. Like if an incident happens, that might be one of those times when it's like the 0.4% chance that it isn't covered.
And it's more if you said you had it and you didn't.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
There are a few organizations, like you said, who may not have it. They may be offered a cyber insurance policy, but I can guarantee you're not getting the best rate on it. Yeah. And you may have some limitations in your coverage.
So you bring up a really good point. Something that I always mention to people when I tell them to look at their policy, if it isn't through you and through M3, is look at the sublimits, because you might think you have a $2 million policy or $1 million policy, but if it comes through business email compromise, $50K, sorry. Yep. And can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah. The most common sublimits that we see are in what we call the cybercrime or e-crime coverage. Okay. And most policies are going to have coverage, but that's, usually aided by a business email compromise situation. And that's the threat actor gets in email on one side or the other of a business relationship, and they're going to almost immediately look for any conversations about payments, invoicing, ACH, wires, those are key terms that they're looking for. And if they can get in there and socially engineer one side or the other to change the payment information, that's a quick, easy, that there's no negotiation of like a ransomware or anything like that. That money is out the door.
It's gone.
And frankly, you probably don't figure it out for week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, very common. And by that point, it's gone.
Yeah, like you cannot get it back.
Yep.
And it's, again, so funny. The story that I always tell over and over again is this one time where this accountant at a manufacturer had her email compromised and she didn't know it. And then, like you said, there was a bad actor in the environment, and he got in and asked to have the routing number and account number changed to the vendor. $200,000 gone. Like, we're not talking chump change. No. It was $200,000 gone. And they didn't even realize it for weeks. I think it was like 6 or 7 weeks that it took. And they're like, wait, where did this money go?
Exactly. Yeah. And, even worse, I'll say start out worst story, but then the good news at the end of the story was that the threat actors were really bad, kind of, D players apparently. But we had a client, municipality was building a new town hall, and similar thing happened. They changed the payment information, $2.1 million out the door.
Oh my gosh, dude.
And
municipalities don't have the budget to, I mean, a lot of them say they don't have the budget for me.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine losing 2.1 million. Like that's a lot.
And thankfully 16 days later, when they realized it, the threat actors had not offshored all that money, and the FBI or Secret Service, I forget which one came into play for this one, but they were able to recover all but about 750,000 of it. So,
jeez.
But in the grand scheme of things, they recovered a significant portion of it, and then insurance kicked in, 250,000 of it. So still not a great story, but could have been even worse.
Yeah.
So, but back to the controls, email protection. So we're talking about phishing and all of that. Having the email protection in play, that's looking at links, looking at attachments, looking at even the content of the email. Does it seem normal? That's definitely a control that insurance carriers like to see. Awareness training, because not every technical control can stop everything. The informed employee.
We're people, we're fallen people. I mean, you and I sharing our faith together, we realize that, right? So, I mean, if you take the sinful nature of us as humans, now realize that we're also kind of stupid sometimes and we don't know everything. So like apply that to business. Yeah, busy too. Because a lot of times it's, like you said, socially engineered. They're watching. They understand what's happening. They realize you just switched from this TMS to the other one. Well, cool. Now they got your info.
Exactly. And they are nefarious. They will use whatever current events or anything to their benefit to make money. So so that advanced email protection and then the awareness training are two big ones. And then I'll say kind of the last one for organizations of all sizes. Once you get to be over 100 million in revenue, the insurance carriers want to see kind of some additional controls and capabilities. But the endpoint detection response with a preference of managed detection response, MDR, is really that kind of next control, because statistically, again, less likely of, even if a threat actor gets in, harder for them to get around and live kind of unseen. And so, that control has led to a reduction, or we see organizations that have, again, particularly MDR, much less likely to have a cyber incident.
Makes
more
sense.
The social engineering ones than the ransomware incidents.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Kind of peeling back the onion on cyber insurance, can you talk through some of like the business risk associated with not having cyber insurance? Because on your end, I envision it being no different than a property and casualty insurance policy, other than the fact that it's cybersecurity and it's scary and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain the similarities between insurance coverages potentially?
Yeah, I think, and one of the other things to look at too is, if say you're a manufacturer, food and ag, or, cheese producer, or any of those types of organizations. Being here in Wisconsin, we have cheese producers.
Yeah.
And you might have business interruption coverage on your general liability, or it's oftentimes a separate coverage line. Many times that's like, okay, your machines break down and from just maintenance issues, or you have, your cooling system go down and you lose a lot of raw product, whatever that may be. From a cyber standpoint, there's business interruption coverage on a cyber policy. Not everyone, but well-formed cyber policies. And so that's a coverage line that the cyber piece is excluded from a traditional business interruption coverage, and then you would need it on cyber insurance. So this isn't even like you could have the greatest backups, but sometimes it's going to take you time to get everything back up and running and restore from those backups and everything. And in the meantime, you're not able to conduct business because how much automation we're putting in our businesses today, manufacturers, food processors, and even, the more blue collar companies, it's technology is enabling so much.
It is. And it's a lot of it happens on like the shop floor in a manufacturer, so many blue collar places, but it's starting to happen in the offices too. So then all of a sudden Sally in accounting can't do her job now and actually get invoices out and get payments in because you're down. But like you said, it's not because a machine malfunctioned. It's because a bad actor came into the environment and ransomed you.
Yep. Yeah. And so thinking about, and when you look at the statistically how long it usually takes to rebuild, I say at a minimum, look at having 7 to 10, maybe 14 days of your business expenses covered. So take your monthly, income and look at, to be a little more conservative, 2 weeks of that.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say your minimum that you should insure to.
That makes sense because statistically, I saw like the latest stat that came out was 16 days that it takes. I've seen some large organizations only take like a couple of days, and then some other ones that I'm not going to name, it's like months long. And it's...
I'll name one, because it was over in the UK and we don't insure them. Jaguar Land Rover last year had a cyber incident. It took them down for 5-6 weeks, and
that's crazy.
The total economic impact of it was close to $1 billion or just over $1 billion British pounds. So
that's crazy.
That's a little more on the extreme, but it can happen.
And speaking of that, a lot of the things that I tell business owners and operations leaders, people that I talk to, you hear about the big names on the news. The big names around here that we know got hacked. The big names around the country, the oil rig or the oil company that stopped working years ago because
Colonial Pipeline.
You hear about those things, but what you don't hear is that your Uncle Steve had to shut down his company in Brillion because some dude hacked him.
Yeah.
And it ruins local economies, and people don't realize that. And again, I hate scare tactics and I hate things like that, but also we have to be upfront about it, and we have to just lay the facts out there the way that we do.
Yep. And
there's a tactful way of doing it, and there's an alarmist way of doing it. You got to thread the needle somehow. But.
Exactly. And, I tell all our clients, I'm not to toot my horn, but a pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
I hate that I have to have my job. I enjoy my job. I love my job.
Yeah.
But, I could find other work out there if only the criminals would stop doing what they're doing.
Yeah. Oh, dude, my favorite, I say this line all the time. I'm in cybersecurity and soul security just based on what I do. I used to be a youth pastor, and now I do this for businesses. And it's similar. It's uncomfortable conversations. It's conversations about real life and about consequences of not doing the things properly that you should.
Yes.
And unfortunately, there are real life consequences to having your head in the sand. And I mean, we see it day in and day out, and I'm sure you see it a lot too, where I always tell people it's not if, it's when you get hacked, and hopefully you have Matt Thomson in your corner when someone experiences it, or you have a company like Loyalty. Like, there are other ones out there. There are other good insurance providers. There are other good MSPs, but have someone that you trust in your corner.
Yes. And practice it ahead of time. Like,
yes,
at a minimum, write down Conor's contact information, my contact information, if we're your MSP and cyber insurance broker, so that if and when something happens, you can at least pick up a phone and say, like, hey, I'm above, water's above my head.
Yeah.
I'm drowning here. What do we need to do?
Yeah. Throw me a life raft or throw me a life preserver, and we'll figure this out together. Yes. Before we close out here, because I don't want this running too long.
Yeah.
Who are some other people that a business owner should have on their list of people to contact should a breach happen?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is your insurance broker and or carrier. They're usually going to have that hotline. If you get a chance to ahead of time, look at the particularly the legal providers. So that we call them a breach coach. I personally hate that term because it's not a breach until it's officially. So why are we calling them breach coaches? But data privacy attorney is another kind of term for that. Look that up. Get a chance to get introduced to them so that you're not meeting them for the first time in the midst of having the cyber incident. Like, understand how they work, give them a chance to understand your business, your industry. Most of the ones that we work with are working hundreds, if not thousands, of cyber incidents a year. So they've been through it. They're really going to help keep you calm, collected, walk you through the process. And then oftentimes they're going to advise on, but again, feel free to choose your own incident response forensic provider. So they're the ones that are going to be the technical pieces that are going to come in, and they're the technical CSI, if you will, detectives that are going to say, hey, based off of these logs or these artifacts on the computer, this is likely what happened, and how you can prevent being exposed right away again. So those are two. And then also internally consider HR, because your employees are going to, whether they're impacted directly, if it's their information or not, but they're going to be impacted by their work. Like, if you're a manufacturer and your operations floor goes down because of a cyber incident, what are you telling your employees? Yeah. Should they come into work? Should they stand there and, twiddle their thumbs because the machines can't run? Or do you send them home? Are you paying them? Are you not paying them? Who's communicating that to them?
And are you telling them what not to say to people when they ask, why aren't you working? Or how come products not coming out of X, Y, and Z company?
Exactly. And that kind of goes right into make sure your communications marketing, aspect is involved and knows what to say and what not to say. And how in the, it's crisis communications, how in the midst of that, you're creating a consistent message and getting the right information to the right people at the right time. And legal will help you with that and all of that. But, it goes back to cyber is not just an IT problem. IT is going to have a significant portion of it, but it is a business level problem. Even if you do proactively have to shut down systems, should IT be making that decision, or is that your COO or your CEO?
Or is that something where we all come to the table and talk about it and say, what can we mitigate the most in terms of financial risk and just data risk? So it's, that's huge.
So having that contact information for your internal team and identify that team ahead of time, at a minimum, identifying that team and knowing, and so that they know that they may get the call in a cyber incident that they're needed to help make those decisions or communicate that.
That makes a lot of sense. And it makes me think of something that I've told friends where as your family grows or as your business grows, things change. The things that you could do when you had 5 employees aren't what you can do now at 50 employees, or vice versa. In my own shoes and in your shoes, if it was just you and your wife or me and my wife, I wouldn't need a fire evacuation plan for my house. I know how to get out of a fire. Either I jump out the second window and hope I land, or I just get out some way. But having 3 young kids at home, or 4 young kids at home, you have to tell your kids where to go to yell a certain thing. Or in my case, we have a ladder for my son on the second floor where it has like one of those pipe things that can bust out the window if necessary. Like he could break the window and just drop it down. So he's 9. He can hopefully figure it out, but it's better than nothing.
You haven't let him try that?
No. Dude, what's so funny? I have Renewal by Anderson calling me all the time. Like I call people where it's like, you need new windows. I'm like, no. But if I let them try it, they'll get some business, which is cool. But yeah, so it's, again, it comes back to real life, and it comes back to business and how we can help businesses do what they're very good at, which is producing product or being lawyers or providing good healthcare, so on and so forth. So
yeah, and taking care of your business and your employees. Like people have put years of their life into these businesses, and really, how can we help with that continuation? Yeah,
for sure. And that's where you and I fit in. And thankfully, I've been able to get to know you pretty well over the past 1.5 2 years.
It's been great.
So it's been awesome. Thank you for joining us today. Matt, thanks for joining me. This was fun. I know we'll probably do it again sometime. But yeah, like, subscribe, share, do whatever you do with the podcast. And I will see you guys next time.